Hmm. Hello, how are you? I am Nikita, and this is the Yoni Talk Podcast. This podcast is where we come to talk about things that are important to women: relationship, finances, family, mental health, physical health, you name it. If it's important to us, we're talking about it on here. So, on today, we're going to be talking to an awesome and phenomenal woman because, just in case you didn't know, all heroes do not wear capes. So, before we get started, let me do some sponsoring stuff. So, this episode is sponsored by Just You Soap Company. Duh. Just You Soap Company is a natural body what a body product company that specialize in body bars, body butter, yoni bars, body oil, beard oil, facial bars, you name it, they got it. So if you're interested in getting you some nourishing products that are sure to feed your skin, then please visit them at justyousoapcompany.com. You can follow them at Just You Soap Company on Instagram, Facebook, TikTok, and did I say Instagram? Yeah, and Facebook. Yeah, there you go. Follow them on all the stuff. So don't forget you can visit at justyousoapcompany.com. Now that we got that out of the way, let us go ahead and introduce today's guest. Today's guest is Monica McLaurine. She has had the pleasure of working with the youth of Tennessee for over 20 years. Most recently, she has become the NAZA or NAZA's capacity building and grants manager with the Nashville Public Library, where she oversees professional development opportunities and manages NAZA's non-metro grants. Previously, Monica was the coordinator for NPL's Total, that is Totally Outstanding Teen Advocates for the Library program, for over 16 years. She worked with the youth. She trained them in several areas to prepare them to excel in curriculum development, leadership development, uh, conflict resolution, and facilitation skills. She is nationally known and has presented workshops in several national bullying conferences across the country. In her 17 years of experience in dealing with bullying, her desire is to challenge traditional ways of dealing and coping with bullying. So, Monica is a native of Nashville. She has a bachelor's degree in criminal justice with a concentration with juvenile justice from the University of Tennessee at Chattanooga. She is a certified life coach and a twice published author. Actually, she has a new book that she's working on, so we're going to ask her about that. Monica loves in her spare time to spend time with family and friends, travel, exercise, and shop. So, without further ado, we are going to bring on Ms. Monica McLaurin.
Hey,
Hey,
good.
hello.
Hello, good evening. Thank you for having me today.
Thank you so much for being here. I greatly appreciate it. Greatly appreciate it. So before we
Absolutely.
get started, rather, I wanted to mention that when we're recording this, it is Women's History Month this March.
Mhm.
So that means that there are women who are making, extraordinary impacts on our society that you may not know about. And I think that Monica's one of those people. So that's why we have her on this show today. Okay. So I just want to dive right in and I want to ask you what gives you your passion for seeing young people excel?
Um, wow, you started right out the bat with a good question. Um, I would have to say when I was in college, I decided I kind of wanted to be like my mother,
Mm-hmm.
but didn't talk to her on how she got on that path.
Mm-mm.
So
Mm.
yeah, I know. So I started out in business and was flunking royally, right? So I was like, okay, so we're gonna have to do something else. So I went into social work, and to be a part of social work, you had to do some community service,
Okay.
and I did some community service at a group home, and
Mm.
it was a group home for runaway young people.
Okay.
So doing, I never forget, my supervisor over there, my volunteer coordinator, he was Mr. Beck.
Mm-hmm.
And that is where I found my passion. There were
Mm,
kids from all walks of life, um, all different things, and they were there and working with them and fussing at them and
mm,
working through things with them. That is where I found my passion, and I really found out that that's my calling and it's my gift.
okay.
So to be able to do it professionally has been a blessing. Whether I'm doing it professionally or on my own, that is my
Hmm.
passion. That's my gift. And so that's where it started so long ago. It was almost 30 years
Oh, wow. Wow.
ago.
I won't tell nobody. I won't tell nobody.
Right?
But it's so
Yeah.
awesome that to you're able to keep on that path, even
Hmm.
though you have a career basically, right? But it's not like
Hmm.
work when you're doing what you love. So how does the program that you are the director of, right? Yeah. uh,
Uh, yeah, I'm the capacity building and grants manager.
so
Right.
how does that position help you continue to make an impact with the youth in Nashville?
Okay. Well, before I started with NAZA, for 16 and a half years, I had a program that I was allowed to build up for 16 and a half years called Total, which stands for Totally Outstanding Teen Advocates for the Library. Well, I was actually able to hire teens to help
Okay.
me to come up with the programs that we offer to the public.
Oh, wow.
Right. So, right. So if you're going to work with teens, who better to know what another teen may
Right.
want than a
Right.
teen? And it was a blessing to be able to hire them. So they got paid
Hmm.
to do what we do. And so when we would do that, we would go into the after school programs and do programming. We did programs on bullying, getting ready for college, because even though we were working with middle school, in the eighth grade, that's when they start to pick their tracks.
Right.
So what
Right.
technical
Right.
or
Exactly.
college or both, right?
Hmm.
So we would go into the different programs, and based on what they said their needs were, that's where we did our programming, right?
Okay.
So now that I no longer do total, I'm still working with these partners, but I'm
Hmm.
doing it where I am working with the adults in their programs that are serving the youth. So I believe that
Ah.
it gives, yeah, so I believe it gives me a unique perspective on being on the other side, touching the
Hmm.
kids and talking, getting to know the kids, and also getting to know the people who are on the front line dealing with the youth. So now I could notice things. I have those previous relationships with them. I think it gives me a clearer vision of some of the
Hmm.
things that they may need. And then also because I do have previous relationships with them,
Right.
I'm telling them if you feel like there's something that you need, some kind of professional development that you may need, talk to me. That's what I'm here for. I'm here to help service you. And one of the things that I'm really proud of is that, you have your administrative, and a lot of times out of school professionals, they are full time somewhere else, or they may be students. So a lot of the times when we're
Hmm.
doing training during the day, they cannot come. So, and thinking through it and working with our partners and working with the rest of the NAZA staff, we were like, okay, let's do a conference, but we're gonna make it all day. So for one, during the day, you can have it for your administrators, your
Hmm.
directors, and then in the afternoon, we gave our partners, we let them know, why don't you shut down? This right before spring break.
Right.
Numbers are usually low on that day, so
Hmm.
the close their sites, and then you can have your paid staff that normally don't get to go to any professional development. You're already paying them, so we're not busting anybody's budget,
Right.
and
Right.
have and send them here. And we have a total all day of 19 sessions and a conference that are doing to be able to pour into those people who are
Wow.
touching our youth. And we're giving it, we have a total of 19 different offerings that we're offering for them, and it's all free. And it's not just open just to our partners, but it is open to all anybody who wants to attend, any out of school professionals that may not
Hmm.
necessarily be in our network, but work with
Okay.
youth or just want to get some professional development, you know. and it's free.
That
So that's
is amazing.
yeah, I'm really really excited about that. It's a lot of work, but we have to be creative, and how we prepare,
Hmm.
our people who are working with our youth, because one of the vision that we have is it's a holistic view. So it's
Hmm.
not just focused on the youth, even though they're the focal point. Our goal in following the vision is to help shape and mold and give resources to everybody, parents, youth serving professionals,
Hmm.
caregivers, anybody who's going to be talking to or dealing with these youth, to get them all the resources they need so it helps them to better serve our youth and to have them to thrive,
Right.
right? So,
And I was going to ask you, because you're working with professionals who deal with youth, so it's
mhm,
like professional development. But have you come across? Are there any like aha moments? Right? Have you noticed the people that are working with them that you've given them? That you all are able to provide them with some inventive ways, because I think, especially in today's society, the
mhm,
kids of today are just
mhm.
nothing like the kids back in
Right,
the day. Even the kids that we may have thought when we were younger, oh my gosh, they so bad. Oh my
right,
gosh, why
right.
they doing that? These kids are nothing like
Mhm,
that. I mean, like totally.
mhm,
So you have to
mhm,
first of all, it takes, in today's society, it takes a special person to even make that commitment to work
mhm,
with the youth, period. That's number one.
mhm.
Number two, um number two, uh how do you uh work with, or rather, how have you noticed that people are like, this is just innovative and revolutionary, the information that they're being given, that they're able
Mhm.
to implement? What type of feedback have you gotten back?
Okay, of course, we have the surveys. That's the best way.
Right.
How do you feel the facilitator has done? Do
Mm-hmm.
you feel they were informed? How did you see yourself, rate yourself before you started and then after? Of course, we
Mm-hmm.
do all of that. But, say for instance, some of the classes that are going to be offered on Thursday. You're right, the youth of today, they are different. But sometimes we have to remember we were youth at one time too.
Right.
Sometimes
Right.
we as adults we forget, some
Mm-hmm.
of us were angels, but some of us were not, right? Some of us were not. So sometimes we need to be reminded of those things.
Mm-hmm.
And then, like one of the courses I'm really excited about is dealing with your own trauma in order to help
Oh,
the kids with their trauma. So, how can you help
yes.
these kids with their trauma when you got unresolved traumas of your own, right? So, we
That is
have some
good.
people coming in to help with um, classroom management when you have conflicts in your classroom, how to deal with those behaviors. The thing is, you're right, it does have to be a special person, but because you could love kids, but that doesn't mean that you're able to work with them.
Yes,
But
ma'am.
the biggest hurdle that from what I'm seeing is they may have the desire but don't have the skills or the resources
Mm-hmm.
available to them to do that. And when um when they don't have those things, it becomes frustrating. It's like,
Right.
I'm not doing this. But the key
Mm-hmm.
is to prepare them and
Right.
give them what they need. We're having someone coming out from Department of Children's Services to do mandatory reporting. I mean, because when you think about it, when I was in school, and like I said, I kind of told my age earlier, um, but all we had to deal with was the tornado warnings. That's what we had to
Right.
go in. You remember when you go
Right.
into the
Yep.
hallway,
And get
right? These kids nowadays, they are have active shooter drills.
yes.
We had social media. I thank God that we didn't have social media when I was coming up. There's
Yes.
so many things that these youth are having to deal with that we didn't have
Hmm.
to deal with.
Right.
And so, imagine how some of us as adults, how we act when we got something going on. We could have something bothering us and dealing with it at home, and we blow up
Mhm.
at the littlest thing.
Right.
So,
Right.
imagine somebody who is growing and don't have the resources that we may have as adults.
Hmm.
and may not even have the best people around them being supportive, or they're going from household, or having to take care of their brother and sister, because mama has to have two and three jobs to keep
Right.
food and the like, so it's a lot
Hmm.
of things. I was a latchkey kid when I was coming up, but still, it was like, you come in this house, don't you open this door.
Right.
But
You knew what to do.
it's so much more from that. So, and
Hmm.
when we were doing, we ask our partners, what is it that you see that you need? What is it that you want? So that's one of the biggest things. We try to listen to them, say, hey, if this is what you want, this is what we're gonna make it happen. And when we were planning the courses, we had a group of partners. Okay, well, let's
Hmm.
talk about it. What are some of the things that you would like to see? And I think what makes me so proud is that, oh my God, when we opened the registration and we started to see different courses that were selling out. I mean, we're calling it selling out. Nobody's
Right.
paying for
But
it, but the classes are filling up, I should say. So
awesome.
that lets me know in my mind
Hmm.
these are hot topics. These are things that they're wanting to talk about: parent engagement, how to build relationships with different schools, um, SEL, which is social emotional learning, different tips.
Okay.
We have people doing that, dealing with your traumas, um, dealing with English as ELL courses,
Hmm.
because
Hmm.
Nashville is a melting pot.
Yes.
So we're cramming it all in one day. This is our first one, but I could see this being a whole 2 day like session,
Hmm.
because opportunity next year, not another one this year. Next year, to be able to better be informed, but we had to do something, you know. So those are the
Yes.
things I look at. Those are the things I look at when trying to figure out what it is they need. Because sometimes they may not say nothing, but their presence
Hmm. Right.
and what they choosing to go to, that tells me a lot.
Right. And you actually hit on several things that I was going to ask you.
Hmm.
One, what is the engagement like? And you said it. So that I think is
Hmm.
phenomenal that they recognize I have to say the jewel, that this is,
Hmm.
that they can tap into for free. you know.
Right.
So that is totally awesome. And I think I saw I was reading something, and I think they can get the credits, they can get the educational credits if they participate in the
Well, they'll get a certificate. They can get a certificate of
mhm,
completion if they want it.
mhm.
In the state of Tennessee, they're for after school professionals. There's
Okay.
no kind of system in place
Mhm.
where um, they have to have some kind of accreditation to do it. So
Okay.
that's another hurdle that
Right.
we're dealing with, and something on down the line we want to work on to getting a credentialing type
Mhm.
system that's recognized by
Mhm.
the state. So
Mhm.
that creates a challenge, a good challenge, and a good issue to make sure that we are getting relevant courses to
Right.
get
Right.
people to come, because other than a certificate of completion,
Right. Right.
that's what you get it, but they have to see what the benefits are and how
Mhm.
it could help them in their day to day life and their planning for the after school programs,
Mhm.
right? So those are the things. So we just trying to make it relevant to them. People need to see. People got stuff to do.
Right.
People got stuff to do. So we want to make it worth their time and their effort
Mhm.
to come. And
Right.
so that's what we try to do.
And the other thing you mentioned about one of the things that will be talked about is parent engagement. And that's
Yes.
something that is so big. And as a kid, you don't know if somebody else's parent is involved, right?
Hmm.
I know my mother was. I know what she
Hmm.
did. If I came
Yes,
home, the
honey.
grades were not where they needed to be, I know what she did. I was scared of my mama in a good way.
Yes, yes. I
I was I
remember
was
Reverend Burns. Yes, honey. She didn't play no game.
Right. No, she did not. I was
Hmm.
reverently scared of my mama, but
Yes.
you never know, what somebody else gets in their house. So it
Mhm.
is imperative, and it's very interesting to even have that, how you engage the parent that may not be
Mhm.
engaged. How do you
Mhm.
approach them so you won't come off as telling them you need to get your kid, what are you doing in your house? So how do you do that? I think is, especially as women, we have to learn how to take, what's the word I'm looking for, um constructive criticism about our children,
Mhm.
because that's what we're talking about,
Mhm.
right? We're talking about youth. So we have to learn how to take constructive criticism about our children without blowing up. And that's something
Mhm.
that, if my kids did something, I told them, I can't defend you if you're wrong. So you need
Right.
to go to school and do what you're supposed
Mhm.
to do. Now, if you're wrong,
Mhm.
I'll listen to what they got to say, but you're gonna have to go on and take whatever they tell you. Whatever it
Mhm.
is, you got to take it, because I can't defend you in
Mhm.
your wrongness. How do you
Mhm.
assist, or what do you tell those people who deal with the children in the after school programs, how to um, keep their cool,
Mhm.
stay professional, but basically
Mhm.
tell the parent, yeah, your kid, something going on.
Mhm.
What is it? How can I help you? How do what advice do you give for that?
Well, we've tried to kind of tackle it from two different ways.
Okay.
The first way was we had like a networking moment on parent engagement where we had a panel discussion. We had parents, we had teachers in after school, we had community leaders, and I think the first thing is everybody needs to hear each other out.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, because really everybody is wanting something from everyone. Okay.
Mm-hmm.
I think that we need to consider, for one, um, parents, and if they come from a single family home or, whatever the situation is, from talking to the parents, they're like, they trying to get home. They're trying to get these children picked up from school, or God forbid, if they have football or basketball or somebody volleyball, some kind of practice, pick them up, get them back home, get them fed, help them with their homework, get them baked, get them in the bed. And this is all right after work, after dealing with the Nashville
Right.
traffic
Right.
that you have. But you want me to come in here and sit down and look at this program,
Right.
so it's a lot. And then it gives the out of school professionals an opportunity to say, these are the things that we would like to do. This is why we're asking you to come in. People need to be heard. And,
Mhm.
everybody's kind of thinking about where they are personally. And so if we hear each other, then maybe, okay, well, maybe I can, or
Right.
maybe I can give some time. Like if they, provide dinner, that's one day maybe I don't have to cook, because
Mm-hmm.
that, I mean, because a lot of these programs, they lay it out, honey. They have all kind of food. The parents
Right.
gonna come, and I come in there and get my plate. I'm like, there's some good food in here. Y'all missing it, right? So we had, that was a good conversation, and from that, I feel like they felt like it wasn't enough, right? It
Mm-hmm.
wasn't enough. So I've been around Nashville all my life, and I have the opportunity, the blessing to have a lot of relationships out there. And so at the conference, we have Pamela Burgess, who is with Metro Schools, but for years she did a program on Saturdays called Parent University. I don't know if you remember
I've
that,
heard
but
of
it
that.
was,
Mm-hmm. Yeah,
yes,
I do remember that actually.
she used to head that up very much. So she's coming in, doing giving advice on parent engagement, and
Okay.
also and adding an element of diversity, equity, and inclusion
Oh,
into it
okay.
as well. So, you know, putting that aspect in there and really just trying to hear each other. And it really, if we just sit down and think about it, I know everybody gets frustrated, and there's going to
Mm-hmm.
be times that everybody, may not handle things the way they should. Everybody is human, and everybody has a breaking point.
Right.
But
Right. Right.
those can be, the more training, the more resources, the more knowledge that you give, it can help with that. I've had my moments and I don't even have kids. Okay.
Right.
So we just, my recommendation, have a mutual kind of respect.
Mm-hmm.
And when you
Mm-hmm.
establish relationships with people, relationships are everything. Just like, even think about when we were coming up, and then everybody could say something to you. Now
Right.
that is not necessarily the case. But if the parent has a relationship with you, you know,
Mm-hmm.
they're more apt to listen and not be so defensive.
Yes.
But if you
Right.
don't talk to them until something is wrong, or they don't come up to the school or
Thank you.
something wrong, that
Right.
that there's no relationship there. Um,
Exactly.
so, with my parents, when I've done parenting workshops on bullying and all this stuff, I'm telling them, like, look, don't just come up to the kids' school when something is wrong.
Exactly.
I come with the pop up, you know, and
Right.
so get to know your student's teacher, your child's teacher, that not just when something is wrong to say, hey, I just want to check you in, whatever. I think,
Hmm.
hopefully COVID taught a lot of parents a lot of appreciation for these, for these teachers
Yes.
that
Yes.
was coming in. And, and I also know a lot of teachers, they just really want support because, some of these kids,
Hmm.
they're a different breed,
They
you
are
know.
different breed, and
Um,
parent engagement is extremely important.
Yeah,
Yes.
so if we have a relationship, so things are not
Hmm.
always going to be as confrontational. Or,
Right.
if I have to say correct your child or have to say something, if we have a relationship, I need you to know that I'm not picking on your kid.
Exactly.
This is and let's work together to figure
Hmm.
out how we can make this better. Right?
Exactly. Exactly. When I was in high school, my mother, they would send out the notice for parent teacher conference. I don't think, I can't remember if you had to sign and say you were coming or whatever it was, but
Hmm.
I guess she
Hmm.
did. So she went. Now my grades weren't bad. I wasn't, a bad
Hmm.
student, and so
Hmm.
every teacher she went to, they were like, "Why are you here?" And she said,
Hmm.
"Because it's parent teacher conference. I'm coming to, find out what she's doing." Da da. And they were like, "You know what? You really don't even need to be here. She's a great student. She got straight
Hmm.
A's, da da da." And she said they were, she was like, every one of them were like, now, if the other parent students
Yeah.
that are not doing so great, that don't have the grades will come, it will be great, but you didn't even need to
Hmm.
come. Thank you for coming, but you didn't need to.
Yeah.
And I think that's part of what you said is part of the problem, right? If parents, it doesn't matter, you go
Hmm.
when they ask you to go. You go when they don't ask you to go. If something's not right, if they come home every day, don't have homework, something's not right. Let's go up to the school and see why. Maybe the teacher really
Yeah.
not giving it. But it's like you said, but you can't put up that wall and blame the teacher
Hmm.
if you haven't even come to say anything. But then the same token, you can't wait until the child has just gotten on your last nerve to say something to the parent. We've had that issue before.
Absolutely. You
But
gotta work, you got to work together. Communication is everything. And then sometimes, after, your student gets in trouble and then you tell them, well, this is really what they're dealing with. If you
mm-hmm,
communicate on the front end,
right,
that it'll help people to understand, even when it comes to, people are doing much better by not just automatically touching. When we were coming up, you just like, hey, I need you to calm down, but now people are given more permission to feel how they need or want to feel.
right.
So if you know your child, like, hey, you don't have to get into details. We got some things going on, and if you could do your best not to put your hands on them without permission, that would be best. That day one. Don't
Mm-hmm.
wait till you put your hand on that child and that child's exploded. And now they
Exactly.
suspended from school, and now you're trying to explain that. They're not trying
Exactly.
to hear that.
Right.
So there's room for us to always get better. If there are
Yeah.
PTAs, go. And I know it's hard, and I'm not trying to tell anybody how to raise their kids or what they need to do for their children. But I just believe the better relationship, and that's just in life,
Mm-hmm.
the better and the smoother, things will be. That's
Right.
the ideal situation. And we know that
It's
that's not always an ideal situation. And so let me put that out there before people get upset with me.
right.
It's not
Right.
always
Right.
the ideal situation. But for the most part, if everybody puts forth a little bit more effort
Mm-hmm.
to establish those relationships, but it takes both parts. The teachers can't
Exactly.
do it by themselves. The parents can't do it by
Can't do it by
themselves.
exactly. Exactly. Because something that you said is, and then I'm going to go into something, go back to something that you
Okay.
mentioned, but
Okay.
when my children were younger, until they said, I don't need for you to keep going in with me the first day of school.
Mhm. Mhm.
But when they were younger, definitely, I'm going in first day. I'm meeting your teacher. I'm even if you didn't got time to look at me in my face when I talk to you, but I'm gonna meet your
Mhm.
teacher so they know you got a parent. Not only do you have a parent,
Right.
but you have a parent that's gonna show up. Because sometimes
Right.
that's all teachers need to know is that okay, I need to, because this one right here got somebody, and I was that parent. I showed up. My one of my daughters, she was not doing well in her classes. I went to the store, bought some spiral notebooks, and I took it to every teacher and I said, could you do me a favor? Can you just write in here what the homework assignment is, just so I know that she actually has the assignment,
Mhm.
that you gave it to her, whatever it was. I can't remember exactly, but all of them did it
Mhm.
except one, and it was the math teacher, and that's the class you really was needed help in. And he was like, I
Mhm.
don't have time to do this every day. That's not a priority for
Mhm.
me. I said, no problem. But I let the principal know now I did my part. Now, if something happens with
Mhm.
her grades, I want you to know that I
Mhm.
did me. Now, I don't know why you're not
Right.
doing it. Now, she passed the
Mhm.
class because I had to go have some more little clashes with him. But I didn't let up because
Mhm.
as a parent, that's what you're supposed to do. You're not, you can't give up and you can't let up. And as a teacher, if you have a parent that's going to work with you, go ahead and do it, because you got a classroom full of kids and every parent does not is not going to engage with you. And I'm not a wait to the last
Right.
minute parent person. Don't wait to the last minute. And I told him that don't wait till she's failing. I'm here now to
Mhm.
help.
Mhm.
So that is
Right.
totally, yes. All of that is so very important. You mentioned something about bullying.
Yes.
And that's something that you have a passion for as well. So how do you challenge the traditional ways of dealing with bullying?
Ooh, that was my whole second book. It was called "I Told My Kid to Fight Back,"
Okay.
and
Okay.
the byline is examining generational difference between today, yesterday, right?
Okay. Okay.
Yesterday and today, right? It has always been a challenge, but I'm gonna hold about that because I'm up for the challenge and I'm not gonna run for it.
Mm-hmm.
Run from it because my one of my goals and one of my passions is to tell the parents you cannot tell your child to handle bullying how we used to handle bullying. Okay. First thing is we could fight today and next week it'll be over with.
Right.
Not, okay. We didn't have social media
Mm-hmm.
where stuff can be put and it will follow you for the rest of your life.
Right.
Um, I'm not going to say that there wasn't suicide or suicide attempts
Mm-hmm.
um, when we were coming up, but it was not as prevalent as it is on today.
Right.
So I'm a visual person. I'm a visual teacher, right?
Mm-hmm.
I can't even remember where I first saw this video, but it was a mother and her son. And apparently this one little boy who was smaller than her son. But she
Okay.
was like, she's very profanity laced, right? And
Mm-hmm.
she's telling her son, you gonna come man today. You gonna fight him, right? Okay. So she makes her son fight this other gentleman. The other little boy, I don't know if he took boxing classes, whatever. He was some
Mm-hmm.
fierce, right?
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
So she's like, get him, get him, get him. And then the other kid was on top of her son, and she grabs the other little boy and
Mm-hmm.
throws him off her son. By this time, her son is screaming, I don't want to fight. She's like, I'm right here. I'm right here. And the other little boy, he's like posted up, ready to go. She's like, I'm right here fighting him, man. He's like, no, no, just screaming, right? So I love to show that video to my parents. And I'll say, okay, well, how do we feel about this right there? Like, no, no, she went too far. She went too far. This and that. And some occasionally they'll say, yeah, well, that's what you got to do. I said, here's three things. Okay. The first thing is, how are we seeing this because it was recorded? I said, I don't know these people,
Right. Exactly.
but it's out here on the internet. Not only can I find it, you can find it too. Never met
Mm-hmm.
these people in my life, right? Second of all, she put her son in a situation where he was not prepared.
Right.
and it backfired. Now there are some where they had told their children to fight back and they came back, and I've seen some triumphant situations, but
Right.
that is not always the case. So she
Mm-mm.
put her son in a really bad situation. Okay. So now everybody's seen the video, right?
Mm.
So she's done one of three things. One, made her son a target because now anybody who's trying to come up, they know he can't fight.
Right.
So they gonna come after him. Two, now he feels like if everybody coming for him, do I need to carry something on me?
Mm.
Do I need to defend myself?
Mm-hmm.
Okay. Or if he feels like he can't take it, she made him a prime candidate to either attempt or to
Right.
commit suicide.
Right.
Now, I tell him I can't tell nobody what to do or what to say about your children. With that situation right there, that is going to follow him for the
Mm-hmm.
rest of his life. It's got to be a better way. And even the parents that have disciplined their children on social media, I'm not a fan of that because you're creating a digital footprint that will follow your child forever. I mean, forever, because you can never fully, no matter how you try to delete it, no matter how
Mm-hmm.
you make your page private, you can never permanently delete it if it's out there on the internet.
Right.
You cannot. So I'm trying to compare like when we were coming up and how things happened when
Mm-hmm.
we were coming up and how things are now. And I'll flat out ask their parents sometimes, how do you know your kid can fight?
Right.
And nine times out of 10, they don't know. So why would you put your child in a situation where they're not
Mm.
prepared? I'll tell
Right.
my own family, if this is what you tell your child to do, put them in boxing, taekwondo, something like that, where they can learn to defend themselves, not to go
Exactly.
looking for a fight, but how to
Right.
defend themselves. Because
Right.
people is like, they don't understand how to let things go. Like I said, we fight and then it's done and it's over with. Like now, I'm gonna come and get my people, and we're gonna come back and get you, and then it's a never-ending
Cycle.
cycle
Yeah.
until it has gone too far.
Mm-hmm.
Gone too far. You got parents involved. Parents going up to the school, and they fighting children. And just like this video I'm talking about, she took that other child and slung him off. That's a problem.
That exact. Yeah, that is a problem. You're
So it's
perpetuating
like,
the cycle.
yeah, because I mean, if I was to see, I don't have any kids of my own, but let me see a grown adult person take my nephew or my
Right.
niece and yank
Right.
them by the collar and throw them somewhere. We got a problem.
Right.
Forget about the kids. Now, me and you have a problem.
Right.
And you see how it continues and it continues and it can seriously get out of hand. And so we've got to figure out a better way. And if that's what you're going to tell your kid, that's fine. But at least prepare them. If you don't prepare them, to me, Monica, that's irresponsible.
Yes.
And I stand on that 10 toes down. That's irresponsible.
Mm-hmm. It is. It is because my one of my daughters, she was bullied. The last
Hmm.
time she was bullied, it was terrible. We weren't there, but her brother
Hmm.
was in the cafeteria, and the little
Hmm.
girl was bigger than her, and she slung her around the cafeteria. She didn't punch her, but it was horrible. She just
Hmm.
slung her around the cafeteria. They called and said everything is okay, but we just want to let you know. I was like, what? So the little girl, she got expended. She got expelled from school.
Hmm.
So she had, when she eventually got to come back the next year, she had to redo, I think, the same grade over again. I can't remember
Hmm.
exactly, but at any rate, but that was the last time because
Hmm.
I was the parent. I didn't tell her to hit back because I knew that oftentimes the bully is coddled
Hmm.
because she had been bullied previously. And every time they would say, well, this is what happened in school, but there is no but. Why are you saying but to me? If my kid was bullied, what are you doing about this other child? Well, that's really nothing we can discuss with you about. Yeah, you can't.
Hmm.
You can discuss it with me because
Yeah.
But the last time that she was bullied was the last time because her dad told her, "Look, this don't need to happen no more."
Right. And then one thing that I also do tell parents is, at the beginning of the year, it's also digital. They give out a little handbook, right? I
Yes,
know at your
yes,
schools, right?
yes,
And their bullying policy
right,
and what they expect to do is in that policy. See, the problem is most parents don't read it.
right.
I tell them, know that policy because that is what they said that they were going to do.
Gonna do it.
That
Yep,
is their policy. And so if they don't do it, this is what they said, and that's a legal, it's legal.
right,
This is what
right,
you
right.
said your
You
policy.
have to
This is
sign
what
that.
you said you're
You
gonna
have
do.
to sign.
You
You have to sign
can
that
open
last page of the book. Yep.
they could be opening themselves up for some
Mm-hmm.
serious problems. But see,
Mm-hmm.
if you don't know, you can't hold anybody accountable for what you
Exactly.
don't know.
Exactly. And that's why it's important for parents to read when the kids come home the first day of school with all this stuff that you do not want to go through. If it take you 2 days, it take you 2 days, but actually go through every sheet of paper because in that book, whether they do it electronic now or paper, but in the back of the book, you sign saying that you understand and agree to everything in that book. You are exactly right.
Hmm.
So if every parent signs that, including the kid that's the bully, their parents sign it, then you understand the ramifications of your child being a bully. It's it
Hmm.
is it is crazy, and it's two sides. Like you said, if you're gonna tell your kid defend yourself, don't just be telling them defend themselves. And you know that they can't even step on a bug. You need to prepare them for that. You need to prepare them for it. Don't tell your kid go do somebody and you hadn't prepared them. And then on the same token, you know if your kid is a bully, because more nines and times out of 10, kids who are bullies are being bullied at home. So they go to school and then end up bullying people. You need to take
Hmm.
care, you need to figure out why your child is that way and nip it in the bud before they become adult bullies, because that leads into something totally different.
Yeah,
I
the
think
life coach in me, I always want to say, what happened? What brought you here?
yes.
Because
What
nothing
mhm.
it doesn't just happen. It
No,
could be a
no.
variety of reasons
Yes,
why, that can happen. But it's like,
yes,
what, baby, what happened?
yes.
That's just the life coach in me because you can't change what you don't acknowledge.
No, exactly.
So, if that's happening, there's an issue, there's a problem there. So let's get to the bottom of it. And that's one of the things we don't do. We never get to the bottom of some things. And,
Right.
where did this come from? And well, I won't get go because I get going on that.
But it's true. It's very true. It's
Hmm.
helpful because you being a life coach is helpful for the work that you're doing, because you know the underlying belly of it, right? You know the
Hmm.
questions to ask in order to get to the expected end or the desired end. So
Right.
I mean, totally right. That is a good thing about
Hmm.
having that extra knowledge. You mentioned the book that you've written on bullying, so that actually was uh the last question that I had actually was
Okay.
about you told us about your book. So you have two that are complete and one that you're
Hmm.
working on, right? So you
Yes.
told us about the bullying book. So and I think
Hmm.
I didn't know you had a book on bullying. I need to get it. And I have your first book and I wish I had brought it in here
Oh,
with me and
thank
I didn't.
you.
But
And I'm like,
so
how I'm
tell
gonna
us
sit
about your
here and don't even have no books of my own doggone books in here. And I'll be
tell us
doing that.
tell us
But
about your
uh,
books.
okay, my first book, and that is just terrible. Sat down, they in this room. But anyways, it's called Becoming Comfortable in My Own Skin: The Journey to Loving Me. And just really quickly, how that came about. Um, I had gained a lot of weight,
Mm,
and but I had convinced myself in my mind that I had a thyroid issue, and you know, and
uh-huh.
they're gonna be able to give me a pill, and they will fix it, right? So they
Okay.
tested me, came back, nothing was wrong, no diabetes, no thyroid disease, no nothing. And then, honey, I went into a full-fledged pity party,
Oh,
right?
oh.
Because I'm like, because I was like, sure, I don't even really eat that much, and I don't this and not on that, right? But I knew I had to do something about it. And then at that
Mhm.
time, I had a full-time job, and then I was working at the church as well. So I'm working
Mhm.
like 6 days a week, right? And then I
Mhm.
started working out 5 days a week. Um, and during that time, I didn't have a lot of time to do nothing else, but I had to work on Monica. So it wasn't
Mhm.
about the weight because I picked it up and lost it, picked it up and lost it.
Right.
It's a constant back and forth with me. Um, but during that journey, I had to look at Monica, look on
Mhm.
the inside, why I had to figure out why I didn't look at myself in the mirror. Why, when it came to picking something out for myself, I didn't know what Monica liked, but because I was bullied as a child on, how I looked and what my clothes were, and
Wow.
I didn't maybe have the most expensive stuff or the latest things, which I'm really grateful that my parents didn't. I didn't get caught up
Mhm.
in all of that because
Mhm.
I don't care about none of that right now. Not
Right.
saying if you do, that's fine,
Right.
but I'm just saying I'm grateful. Um,
Mhm.
but I was bullied about those things. So at 38 years old, I was trying to figure out, well, shoot, what do I like? What do I? Hmm, what do I do? Those types of things. Um, So it was all about getting to know me and loving me regardless, not caring what anybody has to say about me. That I could finally look at myself in the eye, in the mirror, and be happy with what I see. But if there's something that I see that I don't like, then that means something that I have to do to
Mhm.
make that. Because my goal was never to be skinny. I just wanted to be healthy. I wanted to just
Right.
be able to do what I want to do. So that was
Mhm.
my main goal. And I had to
Mhm.
figure out what works for me because what works for me might not work for you or the
Right.
next person. Everybody's got to figure out what works best for them. No judgment either way. So that was what that whole book was about, finally loving me. And,
Mhm.
that just further drove me with, I've mentored several young ladies throughout the city.
Mhm.
And I had to, if I can do something to keep them from being 38 years old and not having to worry about what somebody else thinks or the pressures of social media and, having to look a certain way or dress or act a certain way. If I can do something to help them to be comfortable in who they are, I've done my job. I don't want them
Mhm.
to wind up like me, right?
Right. Right.
So that was what my first book. A second book we talked about is um, I told my kid to fight back, examining generational differences in bullying yesterday and today, trying to get parents to understand there is a difference. So if there's a
Mhm.
difference, how can we work together to bridge that gap and figure out what's best for your child?
Right.
I can't tell you what to do, but I can help give you the resource you need to make the educated decision on what you're going to do with your child.
Mhm. Mhm.
And the book that I'm currently working on now, I'm playing with the title, but
Okay.
it's dealing with anxiety and the African American community.
Oh, that is
Um,
good.
So, for so many times, and it's really getting better. We never really talked about therapy because
Mhm.
you get a little Jesus and everything
Right.
gonna be all right.
Yeah.
You know what I
Yep.
mean? And and you can get a little bit of Jesus and then work it
Mhm.
out. But he also has people down here to help you get the help that you need while
Yes.
you're here. And
Yes.
myself going to therapy was one of the best things I ever do. And I've been going for years. Matter of fact, I'm
Mhm.
overdue. And it doesn't have to necessarily have to be anything wrong for you to go through therapy. Sometimes it's accountability. Sometimes,
Mhm.
we're so scared about somebody being in our business or telling our
Mhm.
business, but that's the safest place to be. right?
Yep.
And me being a life coach, people like, what is a life coach? But it's like life coach. Think about a coach. A coach is someone who pushes you, who makes you
Mm-hmm.
work to get better, who holds you accountable, to help. Doesn't tell you necessarily what to do, but helps to push you to
Mm-hmm.
to make you better. I have some clients. My clients. I let them embrace how they may be feeling in that moment. Okay, but now what we gonna do?
Right.
We can't sit here now. And I tell them sometimes you're gonna be mad at me, and that's
Mm-hmm.
okay. I can take it.
Right.
And my goal is to help you push yourself and to get better into whatever the situation is, whatever you say you want to accomplish. But that's what we trying to do, and we finna get you in a position. And yeah, you might have a day. Okay, that's fine. Have your moment. All right, now you ready? Let's
Right.
do it. Or if you're wrong, just like that's no. That's not what we're doing. I'm not gonna let you just dismiss all the work that you've been doing before. No, we're not
Right.
doing that. That's that you
Right.
forgot who you're talking to, right?
Right.
Okay. So that I'm not the one for that. Okay. So that's how do we get back on track? That's what we gonna do.
Right.
You
And
know.
not give up on
Uh
yourself.
no. No. It is not just about taking somebody's money. And if I'm not effective with somebody, I will do my best to try to get them to someone else who can help them because this thing to
Right.
me is serious.
Yes. But the key is, even if you're not the person to help them, that you continue the work, because what that is so very important. Of course, whoever you are, wherever you are, if you need, whether it's a life coach, a therapist, or whatever, you need to get it.
Mm,
But I think in this day and age, and at this point, um in our freedom, I have to say it like that, in this
mm,
point in African Americans freedom, right? Because when you do
mm.
the math, it ain't been that long. you know we are still suffering mentally from the
Mhm.
fact that we were freed from bondage and just turned out literally on the street. Like, now go figure it out.
Yeah, and we still
No
doing this
skill.
and walking in church. Baby,
Still,
put your finger down. We free now.
use the fuse free. You ain't got to do that, right? You don't have to get to cross the other side of the street to when you walking down the sidewalk. I mean, seriously, right?
Mhm,
And that is, and all of that, I think, has is built up, and it's like a what is it called, a powder keg. And we have to
mhm.
know that it's okay to go see a therapist. That we don't have to just keep the family business in the house. It ain't now. Facebook is not your
Won't we do
therapist.
that? The Facebook is not it.
No,
That
Facebook is not the therapist.
Instagram,
Mm-mm.
TikTok,
It's not.
any of that other stuff, that ain't it.
That's not it.
Okay, you can maybe find you somebody you can go talk to on that,
There you go.
but on the platform itself, that ain't it.
That ain't it.
You know.
So whatever you figure out, whether you need counseling, coaching, the
Hmm.
therapist, the actual psychiatrist or a psychologist,
And
whichever
even
one.
acknowledging that
Yes.
everybody has some type of anxiety. Some of
Yes.
us are just more severe than others. Like I fought for
Yes.
years. Like I didn't want to get on any kind of medication. I figured I could do it. But then COVID was really bad because my anxiety is mostly triggered by medical issues because COVID is really bad for me. I can't tell you
Mhm.
how many times a week that I test myself. I go through tests like it's nothing because I feel like that's the only thing that I can control.
Right.
Okay.
Right. Right. Right.
So I can get a result fast. Right.
Hmm. Hmm.
So, um, but me being on the medicine is helping me because I couldn't take it anymore. The mind is the most powerful thing that you have in your mind. You can tell me all day that the sky's blue outside, but if in my mind I believe that it's purple, there's nothing that you can say that it's going to happen. People just don't realize how powerful the mind is. And if you don't understand, like some people may, look at me because I hid it for years.
Hmm.
I hid it from my family. I hid it from my friends until I was like spiraling out of control. And I had to figure out what my triggers are and, how can people help me and, all those types of things. And, so we need to learn that it's a real issue and how we can work through it, and how to create empathy. And then also not just for people who have anxiety, but also for the people who love us. Because a lot of times they don't know how to help us,
Right, right,
you
right,
know? So they just don't understand. It's like, honey, you fine. Ain't nothing wrong. And that's the worst thing you can say to somebody who has anxiety, because we already feel like people don't understand,
right. Exactly. Exactly.
you know? So I'm sorry. I'm just talking, talking, talking. That's what
No,
I do, girl. I talk
you're
all the
good.
time.
You're good because I've already decided you're gonna come back because
Okay.
I want to talk about the mentoring that you do and dive more into your first book because I
Hmm.
think that it's really important, especially for women, that we do when we realize that, right? That it was so
Hmm.
interesting, because you just convinced yourself that it was something, it had to be something medical, and then realize
Hmm.
that's not what it was. Wait a minute, I need to step back and look at myself in the mirror. And I think it's really important for women. So you're going to come back. We're going to talk about the
Okay.
mentoring and that book because
Okay.
they coincide. Because once you figured it out for yourself, you didn't keep it, and you
Right.
shared it. You said, I figured out what this thing is. Let me show you
Hmm.
how you can get over your thing too. So yes, definitely
Right.
coming back so we can talk about
Well,
that.
thank you. I'd love to.
But to wrap it up, what are at least two things
Okay.
that you feel are very important? Um, One, let's talk about just engaging the youth, right? What is the most
Okay.
important thing that someone could do to make an impact with the youth? And then two, to me, it really is like sort of the same, one and the same. And this is why, because why I'm going to ask you for the second thing is that if we get ourselves together, then we're able to assist somebody else. So, what
Hmm.
is something that we need to do to prepare ourselves or get ourselves to a place to be able to be that impact for the young people in our lives?
Okay. To answer your first question, what has been successful for me in working with youth is my transparency.
Mm-hmm.
I'm very open about mistakes that I have made or currently have had. They got enough people telling them what to do and treating them like a parent. Um, Very transparent on mistakes I've made, and to say, hey, I get it. And I truly understand, so I'm not trying to tell you, you should know better than that. I will tell you that, but it's just like I understand. But when you get through, how is this helping the situation? And I allow them, the ones that I mentor, and I tell them anything that we discuss, except if you talk about hurting yourself and or anyone else, it stays here. I'm a safe place for them. And I tell their
Mm-hmm.
parents that too. Because if they don't feel safe, it won't work. So I would say transparency and knowing that I am a safe place and they can talk to me what they need to talk to me about.
Mm-hmm.
And then really to answer your question, what is it that we need to do as far as adults to help youth?
Mm-hmm.
I would say, don't forget you are a young person too.
Mm-hmm.
You were too. Now some people say, "Well, I never," and that's fine. Well, we ain't talking to you. We're
Right.
talking to somebody who has made some mistakes,
Right.
people who, mad at their mama and wanted to run
Mm-hmm.
away. I even talk about the
Right.
time
Right.
I told my parents I was going to run away, baby, and my daddy put me out on the porch with my little blue suitcase and cut the lights out. So now I'm standing there like, now what I'm gonna do? You know what I
Right.
mean?
All
So
above.
right, and I tell them about it. There was a time where I was so upset with somebody in school, and I was just like, man, I'm getting ready to throw that. I was so mad. I was like, I'm getting ready to throw this trophy case, and I was okay with it. But then I had to tell them. I said, but if I would have done that, I would not be here today. You got
Right.
to realize, even, when you're fighting and stuff, I said, somebody could fall and hit their head, and then your life is over.
Done.
You got to think
Right.
that thing through.
Mm-hmm.
So we as adults, we gotta remember we were kids too. We made mistakes. Our parents got our nerves sometimes. We didn't always want to talk to our mom or our dad or our grandma about everything. You know what I mean? So, just take a moment to remember what that's like and think about put yourself, how would you be doing in this day and time if you were a teenager?
That is good. That is really good.
Thank
Two very good points. Thank you
you.
again so much for coming.
Thank
Again,
you.
we're gonna have to schedule time so you can come back, talk about the mentoring and the first book, because
Hmm.
I think it is something that we really need to get into, because that's
Okay.
like the purpose of the podcast, right? So that we
Okay.
can help other women in whatever area free themselves
Okay.
and get, another thought about whatever the thing
Okay.
is that they are dealing with, whatever it is. So
And I will
again,
bring
thank you
some
so very
books. I
much for
will
taking time.
have them.
Yes,
I will
yes.
have.
So we can show them what it looks like. Yes.
Yeah. Yeah.
And also, of course, in the description box, I'll put Monica's links for her books and the information about her mentorship and all those things, life coaching, so that you will have it.
Mhm.
Um, Again, thank you so much for being here.
Thank
Don't
you.
forget, you are welcome. Thank you. Don't forget to like, share, and subscribe, and let everybody know about Yoni Talk. That's it. Y'all have a good evening and be
Thank.
blessed. Thank
Thank
you.
you.